On Monday, Reuters reported that Russia is building what appears to be the first deployment site for its experimental nuclear-powered cruise missile, the Burevestnik, known in the United States as the SSC-X-9 Skyfall. This installation is near completion, indicating that the missile may soon be integrated into Russia's strategic rocket forces. The site is located at Vologda 20, a nuclear storage facility roughly 1,000 kilometers from Russia's borders with Finland and Estonia. It contains 9 fixed launch positions, supported by missile handling facilities and nuclear warhead storage bunkers, hinting that the Burevestnik may be a missile on high alert, ready for immediate launch. There is growing concern around this missile. United States officials have criticized Russia's development of nuclear-powered cruise missiles, which emit radiation, dubbing it a flying Chernobyl. Unlike traditional cruise missiles powered by jet engines, the Russian missile uses an unshielded nuclear reactor for propulsion, giving it the theoretical ability to fly for nearly unlimited distances. If deployed, the Burevestnik would be the first missile of its kind in operation. The United States explored a similar concept with its Project Pluto in the 1950s and 60s, but abandoned it due to safety concerns, fearing the system would endanger U.S. citizens. These concerns were validated in 2019 when a Russian Burevestnik exploded during a test, killing several missile scientists. The advanced propulsion system and potentially unlimited range of the missile could allow Russia to use it in entirely new ways. In 2020, UK Defense Intelligence Chief General James Hockenhull stated that Moscow was testing a global-range nuclear-powered cruise missile that could strike from unexpected directions and hover near a target for extended periods before attacking. This ability to loiter over a target raised concerns that Russia could launch such missiles in a crisis, keeping them circling near US and NATO targets, awaiting instructions. This would enable Moscow to strike quickly once orders were given, reducing NATO's reaction time to Russian aggression. The missile could theoretically stay airborne indefinitely, powered by its nuclear reactor, flying low to evade radar until the command to strike is given, much closer to the target than traditional missiles. However, experts argue that such capabilities are technically impractical. It's unlikely Russia would use the missile in this way due to 2 limiting factors: range and visibility. Despite Russia's defense ministry claiming the missile's range is unlimited, there are significant costs to flying long distances or remaining airborne for long periods. Missiles typically determine their position through communication with satellites, but satellite signals can be easily blocked or tampered with. The Burevestnik is equipped with inertial navigation, which tracks the missile's position by measuring its speed and direction. Over time, though, small errors in the missile's guidance system would accumulate, similar to a mechanical clock, eventually becoming inaccurate. Flying a missile for extended periods would risk it veering off course and missing its target. Russia could attempt to guide its missiles remotely, but the limited range of Russian communication systems and the curvature of the Earth would drastically limit the area where such guidance would be effective. Even if remote guidance were installed, the missile would remain vulnerable to electronic warfare. That said, the extended range of the Burevestnik is not without value. Cruise missiles are essentially disposable aircraft, and like planes, their range depends on fuel efficiency. Traditional cruise missiles flying at higher altitudes use less fuel because the air is thinner, offering less resistance. However, they are also easier to detect by radar. Conversely, flying at lower altitudes allows missiles to avoid detection more easily, but burns more fuel, reducing their range. The nuclear-powered Burevestnik doesn't have to compromise between fuel efficiency and detectability. For example, while the U.S. Tomahawk missile has a range of nearly 2,000 kilometers but cannot reach intercontinental targets, the Burevestnik's nuclear engine could theoretically keep it airborne for days, allowing it to fly from Russia to targets in the U.S., all while flying low to avoid radar. However, even though the Burevestnik's reactor enables such a scenario, guiding the missile accurately to its target would still be a massive challenge. Despite the Burevestnik being harder to detect due to its lower flight path, it's not invisible. Cruise missiles generate strong heat signatures only during their launch, making them harder to track afterward but not impossible, especially for satellites that must look through the often clouded atmosphere. The longer the Burevestnik remains airborne, the more time air defense systems in NATO countries would have to detect and intercept it. While Russia could have mitigated this problem by making the launch system mobile, it chose to build fixed launch sites instead, which can be closely monitored by NATO reconnaissance. This makes Burevestnik's flights easier to predict and track. Due to communication and precision issues, it's unlikely that the missile could surprise NATO. A better way to understand the missile is as a direct attempt to penetrate US and NATO air defenses, capable of flying almost directly towards its target at extremely low altitudes. The real problem with the Burevestnik is that Russia might feel compelled to launch it preemptively in a crisis because its fixed launch site is vulnerable to attack. The missile also has a much longer flight time to intercontinental targets compared to ICBMs, taking hours instead of minutes. A Russian leader could feel pressured to launch the Burevestnik before the US has a chance to move its air defense assets into position, or before the launch site is destroyed by NATO, possibly by the hypersonic missiles the US plans to deploy in Germany by 2026. While Russian leaders might feel pressured to use the Burevestnik preemptively, there's no reason why Moscow couldn't be deterred from starting a nuclear war with it. NATO countries can prevent this by investing in military infrastructure that could survive a first nuclear strike and retaliate, making their targets less attractive. This means adding dispersion and redundancy to NATO defenses at key sites like radars and airfields, especially in the US, where such assets have never been threatened by difficult-to-detect Russian systems. The Burevestnik is not a miracle weapon, and the challenges it poses to NATO security are neither new nor unmanageable. While frightening on paper, the missile's technical limitations reduce the extent of its threat. Much of the hype surrounding it stems from Russian bluster about its capabilities. In this context, one of the best things NATO can do to stay strong in a crisis is to expose this weapon for what it really is, a terror weapon, not a game changer. So far, the only people the Burevestnik has killed are its own designers, and fighting Russian propaganda can help keep it that way.